Welcome back. We continue with the news. Financial expert Mambo Hamaundu says the Zambian kwacha, despite undergoing serious depreciation, has managed to withstand the harsh economic conditions. Mr. Hamaundu said in the last quarter, the kwacha performed slightly better and still has room to appreciate. He said going forward, if all economic parameters are addressed, the kwacha is poised to compete favorably against the US dollar.
Our currency in the third quarter of the year, that is from July to September, was more or less can be described as fairly good, in that the incidences of turbulence were not as high as they were, I think, in the second or first quarter of the year. Because in July, the rate was somewhere around 12.95, though in the month in itself, there was a bit of fluctuation. I think the rate even went as low as 12.5, but still went up to the 12.9 levels. And as we went into August, the rate, the kwacha dollar rate went to about 13.14, and by the end of September, we're sitting around 13.24, which is a depreciation of around 2%. You know, if we look at the opening rate at the 1st of July to the closing rate at 30th September. And I say that this is relatively okay because I'm looking at it from a historical perspective, or even when we look at the recent past, last week or thereabout, we saw the kwacha lose strength quite significantly, from rates as low as 13.4, going up to 13.8, 14, 14.12, and of course there has been a bit of recovery, and the rate is slightly below 14. So really, when you are just looking at it from that quarter's perspective, I think we can say that the performance was reasonably okay.
Luwasenshi PF Member of Parliament George Mwamba has commended government for the timely delivery of inputs under the 2019-2020 Farmer Input Support Program FISP. Mr. Mwamba has predicted that Luwasenshi is poised to record a crop bumper harvest owing to the timely delivery of inputs.
Fertilizer or the inputs, we received them in good time. Right away, as I'm talking to you, I left them distributing, and we started distributing a long time ago. So our people are receiving inputs, and they are getting these inputs. So we have no problem, and we can't say we cannot compare to any other region. For us, as at now, I think we are receiving sufficient rains, and we have also received sufficient input. And it's just that people are transporting to their various fields. But of course, they've started cultivating. So we are happy. Government actually has done a good job. But I'm aware it has also distributed to other parts of the country. But I can't speak on their behalf. I must speak for my constituents, and in particular, we have received, and we are very happy with government.
The US government has pledged over $40 million United States dollars towards Zambia's education sector. Frank Tolopa from the Education Television Services ETVS has details in the following report.
He is a grade 3 pupil at Kasupe Primary School. He read at the launch of Let's Read project funded by the United States Agency International Development USAID, the prime activity it wants to support the Zambian government through the Ministry of General Education, MOGE.
Research shows that improved literacy leads to a stronger workforce, greater individual economic empowerment, and higher earning potentials. Improving reading skills in the early grades of primary school is one of the U.S. government's top priorities in Zambia.
Government through the Ministry of General Education is happy to partner with the USAID to improve reading, especially at primary school level.
Gathered here to officially launch yet another USAID project in education called Let's Read project. Education is key to the development of any country and has been prioritized in the 7th National Development Plan. The provision of accessible and quality education requires significant amount of resources, especially in an environment with so many competing needs. Government alone, therefore, cannot achieve its desired outcomes and attain commitments made as those outlined in the Sustainable Development Goal number 4 without the support of partners such as USAID.
And Provincial Education Authority has assured USAID of continued effort to increase the targeted number of pupils to benefit from this project.
The speech of the guest of honor and also the overview that was given by the Chief of Party for Let's Read project, we saw that they have targeted 1.4 million children by the end of the project to learn how to read. But I wanted to mention that although you have targeted 1.4 million learners during the said period to acquire this skill, I wish to mention to you that this number will exponentially increase and grow in our schools.
Meanwhile, the traditional leadership here is also happy for the project.
It attaches great importance to support education because he's a champion of sending children to school without saying this is a girl, this is a boy, because also girls have a role to play, and he wants parents to send both a girl and a boy.
USAID Let's Read project will be in the country for the next 5 years, working with the Ministry of General Education with the aim to improve reading outcomes for approximately 1.4 million children in pre-primary through to grade 3 in public and community schools in all the districts of 5 selected provinces. Frank Tolopa for ETVS Kopala Education News in Chipata, Eastern Province.
And finally, in education news, the Zambia Open Community School ZOCS Deputy Director Cleopatra Mumba says an estimated 80,000 children are not in school in the country. Ms. Mumba has told Kopala TV News in an interview that if left unchecked, the number is likely to double.
That there are a lot of community schools that are being opened every day, but there's something that I just want to clarify on. For us, we're very passionate about community schools being supported by the whole community. The reason we call it a community school is because every stakeholder within the community should be part and parcel of the community. So it doesn't have to be an individual, running the school, because then that means that's an individual school, and it could be a low-cost private school. But when we talk about a community school, it means different people, different stakeholders within that particular community are involved in the provision of education. And I think that's what sets us apart in terms of even the schools that we work with. So there's a lot of community involvement. Everyone in the community feels they have stake, or they have a stake in whatever is happening at the school, and they're ready to support the school. And that is a mechanism for sustaining whatever is happening at the school, because these stakeholders feel they need to make a difference in their communities, and they're committed to supporting education within their communities. So that's the biggest difference with community school. And then, you see these schools coming or being, established by communities, because we still have a gap in terms of education service in the country, across the country. As you go down in the rural areas, you notice that we still have places that are unserved in terms of education institutions, and this is when our communities mobilize themselves and come up with these institutions of learning. It is to provide a service to the children who, without a community, would not have had an opportunity to get an education. And our appeal is that the population keeps growing, so which means there's still need for investment in education. We still need to ensure that opportunities are created for young people to go to school. Not too long ago, when our organization set out to start our work, there were about 150,000 children out of school. Currently, the numbers have been growing, and there are reports that there are about over 800,000 children that are out of school, and then that's a huge number. So it means, as stakeholders, we still have a lot to do in terms of education provision in the country, and ensuring that every child is given an opportunity. The government has given us a vision, and a very clear purpose that no one should be left behind. So it means there's still work for everybody and for every stakeholder to take part and ensure that everyone has a chance to go to school.
That item wraps up the main news on Kopala TV. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Political violence unsettles HH. Kambwili wants ghost workers arrested. poor performance of Kwacha worries expert, and the US government pledges over 40 million United States dollars towards Zambia's education sector. Thank you so much for watching. Remember that you can watch Kopala TV live on Facebook every day, and not just that, you can follow us on our various social media platforms. Enjoy watching.